And it's midweek already. Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We're live on your digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. You can catch us on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. We are JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, inflation up again by some 3.1%, pushing general prices of goods and services to some 31.7% as of July this year. We'll give you a breakdown of the latest figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service, plus hear from traders who say they have had enough. At you the very latest, and the La Bianca saga unfolds this afternoon on The Pulse. The Chamber of Freights and Trades is jumping to the defense of the frozen food company as it cautions the general public not to be quick in bringing down Ghanaian businesses. We'll explore the unfolding events as the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority as well is fighting the Special Prosecutor's findings in the latest report on the matter.
If you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice. And those who are behind it, they know themselves. They know themselves. They've tried it several times. It is not working, and it won't work. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do.
So exactly what did the Special Prosecutor do wrong? We'll explore that here on the Pulse. And illegal mining remains a challenge in the Elembele district of the Western region. Stay with us as we put a spotlight on the community and find out measures being deployed by local authorities there to curtail and contain the situation. And this is another Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember, this afternoon as well, we're streaming live on YouTube, and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. Thanks for choosing us. Well, so don't be quick in running down indigenous Ghanaian companies. That's the caution from the Chamber of Freights and Trade, which is waded into the latest findings of the Special Prosecutor, which indicted the frozen foods company La Bianca. The Office of the Special Prosecutor days ago announced the recovery of some 1 million Ghana cedis from La Bianca Company Limited, owing to what it describes as a shortfall in import duties to the company that was supposed to be paid to the state. Kisi Ejabeng also made some subsequent directives to the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. So let's bring you excerpts of the findings from the Special Prosecutor, indicating that the Special Prosecutor directs the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority to, first of all, submit on or before the 31st of December 2022 an integrity plan to the Office of the Special Prosecutor designed with the aim of preventing the corruption of the exercise of discretion by officials of the Customs Division, especially in respect of the rendering of rulings to assure the effective operations of the Customs Act 2015 and also the Revenue Administration Act of 2016 as being directed by the Special Prosecutor. Well, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority is hitting back on that claim from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, refuting the claims of corruption against some of its officials of La Bianca Food Company. Commissioner of Customs, Colonel Damois, has been speaking on the matter. He says that the report by the Special Prosecutor was released with malicious intent to discredit custom officers.
Or coming from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, trying to indict the Deputy Commissioner of Operations and myself. And anybody who has read that report very well will know the basis of that. And luckily for me, God is always on my side. Before that report came, that person had made a statement to some people who had come to them. He was going to publish something that will discredit me, and he will do that. And I even sent people to go and tell him that he's a small boy. I'm older than him. I have lived a meaningful life. If he attempts to destroy me, it won't be easy for him. People have tried it. I have survived. And this one too, I'll survive. That's happened. One of the reasons was because of Mr. Akurugu. He wanted Mr. Akurugu to be seconded to his office, and I said no. Mr. Akurugu is a custom officer primarily employed to do customs work. And he is to partner Mr. Akoto Fachin in that office, African Continental Free Trade Area. He deals with tariffs and valuation. And therefore, I cannot second him to the office of the special prosecutor because he has a primary role to play in customs. And then he comes back through the Commissioner General. And again, I said, I insist and will go by that he has a primary role. It is when I don't have a role for him or I can dispense of his services, I have others to do what he's going to do, that I will give him to you. So I insist. And he calls me to his office when in relation to La Bianca. And at the end of it, he talks to me about this same matter. And I said, yes, it is not the Commissioner General. I wrote it. Go and check it. And I have my reasons. He will not be released to you. He will be in customs. And then behind me, he goes to resign. He's given the position of Commissioner of Police a rank, and he's now with your office. And he goes to make allegations that Mr. Duche and myself, we hit him, and they will deal with us. So that is it. That is the basis of that publication. But if you read it very well, there's nothing in it. It's hollow. It's actuated by malice. And those who are behind it, they know themselves. They know themselves. They've tried it several times. It is not working, and it won't work. I'm ready for any prosecution. That's what he must do. Not to say that they should do further investigations up to 2017. Up to 2015, I have letters written by Deputy Commissioner Demis Agavo granting similar things. And I produced them when he called me. He didn't have the letters, but I had the letters. My predecessor, Mr. Crenson, had those letters. This is common practice in customs. If you want to remove me, I have no problems. I won't be Commissioner of Customs forever. I'm ready to go. But don't disgrace me.
Very strongly worded statements there. In fact, a lot of reaction is beginning to greet this. The Chamber of Freights and Trade is also asking the general public not to be quick in running down the La Bianca Company Limited, which is an indigenous Ghanaian firm. So let's bring you their concerns right now, pointing out exactly what it is that the Chamber of Freights and Trades also has to say about this. They talk about the fact that, first of all, the payment of short collections after clearance of cargo is also captured in the Customs Act, Act 891, Section 7, which gives the Customs the authority to actually visit importers and their premises to audit goods that have already been cleared. Now, it goes ahead to say that if Customs, during the post-clearing era and audit, finds out that the value they themselves approved is less than what it is that they have actually charged you for, they can reassess for that shortfall in duties and present that to the importer to make the payments. Hence, the impression which is being created that La Bianca and their acceptance and payment of the shortfall collection is an indication of some acceptance of guilt is not factually accurate, as being pointed out in that statement. Then they go ahead to point to other matters which we also need to point to you. They are also talking about issues relating to indigenous companies and the fact that Ghanaians are sometimes very quick to judge when it comes to some of these controversies. In fact, they are asking the public not to be quick in running down what they call indigenous Ghanaian companies. So let's hear from the group. Joining us via Zoom now is Dennis Amfosefa, President of the Chamber. We're also being joined by the Importers and Exporters Association. Its Executive Secretary, Samson Asakia Wingobit, who we understand is preparing a statement also on this matter. So gentlemen, thank you for your time here on the Pulse. Let me start off with you, Dennis, on this. The belief is that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has concluded its findings. Why are you then going ahead to criticize what it is that a constitutional body has worked out?
Well, good afternoon, my brother. Yes, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has concluded its investigation and has issued a report. But we of the Chamber of Freight and Trade strongly believe and are clear in our minds that the OSP's office got it all wrong. And this is a clear case of give a dog a bad name and hang it. We have reasons to say that. One, advance ruling is captured in the Customs Act that is being used to run the activities and the works of customs. The Customs Act 2015 Act 891, Section 12, clearly defines what customs advance ruling is, who can apply for, and how, and the procedure within which customs would either grant, deny, or vary the applicant's application or what he or she seeks to ask customs to grant. So it is not out of place that a company, an importer or an exporter, applies to customs and explains their position that, listen, customs, we are importing X amount of cargo that we bought for X amount of money. But we have realized that that type of cargo, when imported into this country, you value them at X amount of money, which we believe it is against the transactional valuation system that is accepted by our laws and by WTO and by the World Customs Organization. So they have not done anything out of place. Nothing out of place at all. So if they apply...
But there's the issue about how often we have this happening. The special prosecutor, for instance, points out to influence peddling. That's a serious crime, isn't it?
That is also a serious factual inaccuracy. Because
you're challenging the special prosecutor on that?
Of course, he's human and he can err. There was nowhere in the report that the customs commissioner or the deputy commissioner of operations said that they approved or granted the applicant's application based on the influence of the applicant. Neither did they say the applicant took a gun to their head and asked them that you either approve or you accept my application or I'll kill you. So where is the influence peddling here? Are we also trying to say that if I become tomorrow the CEO of a Ghana Maritime Authority and I import cargo, which I believe that the value that customs is placing on the cargo is way and above the transactional value price of the cargo, I can't apply and seek for clearance and engagement for them to look at the value again? Is that what we are saying? Are we saying that if you are in any position or you happen to serve in any higher position in this country, you cannot use the law, the same law that we are to protect, to argue your case?
How do you intend to redress the situation? Because as it stands now, even the OSP is giving further directives on this. He believes that there's a bigger problem of graft happening at our ports, and goes ahead to ask the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority to put up an integrity plan. For you as the chamber, are you not worried that there's some big issue happening at the Tema port which needs to be dealt with immediately?
Well, I believe that if we really want to change the law, or we believe that the Section 12 in the Customs Act is absolute or is not needed again, then let's change the law. But we should not target personalities. We shouldn't target companies. We shouldn't try to denigrate image and credibility of persons of this country. Listen, the Customs Commissioner did no wrong. The Deputy Commissioner of Customs in charge of operations did no wrong. He used the Act 891. Section 12, Section 66, Section 67 of the Act that spells out how valuation and classification.
Yeah, but that's discretionary power. I mean, and in terms of discretionary power, you do agree that sometimes we have excesses and abuse. It's the concern of the OSP that we need some further regulation on the exercise of that discretion.
Then let us tackle the law, but let's not attack personalities, companies, and individuals. Because for them, everything they did, from the company itself and on the part of Customs Division of GRA, everything is grounded in law. Nothing they did went outside the confines of the law.
Dennis, I guess what you're doing now is to protect one of your own under the guise of saying, well, this is a Ghanaian company, let's protect them. Why should we protect a Ghanaian company when we do know that the OSP says, well, there's some undue influence there?
I gave you sections of the Customs Act, 2015 Act 891. That spells out how things are done, how these things are done. Gradually, we are killing indigenous Ghanaian companies. We did same to the sugar and rice importing community. Currently, it is only Lebanese that import sugar and rice into this country. We did same gradually to the computer and computer accessories importing community. Currently, it's only Indians that import computer and computer accessories into this country. Now we have turned our attention and our eyes to the frozen food importing community. Gradually, we are going to kill it, and then we'll have foreigners importing frozen food into this country. Is that what we want? When we clearly knows that everything that the company applied for, he didn't apply for outside the law. It is within the law.
Yeah.
That is a challenge.
But how about
there is nothing that they did that is outside the law. Even if we are to go ahead and push, the benchmark valuation system that customs is applying is alien. It is not in the customs law. It is not approved by WTO. It is not anywhere found in the World Customs Organization method of valuation. All the 6 methods of valuation never speaks about benchmarking of values.
How about the concern of equity? Do you believe, and this may be your personal opinion, that if not for the ownership involved in the LaBianca group of companies, that we may not have some excesses to the tune of 1 million Ghana cedis? That's a lot of money, you agree?
You see, don't call it excesses. That is where I also get it wrong. You guys get it wrong.
Right.
Short collection is not an excess. Short collection happens every time in the freight and trade industry. Number 2, post-clearance audits that gets or makes the short collection arise is also something normal within the shipping industry. Number 3, it is not only LaBianca company or group of companies that have applied or that is used to applying for customs advance ruling. Every importer in Ghana, irrespective of your status, your creed, your religion, your color, your background, you have the right to apply for advanced customs ruling. Number 2, even if customs value a cargo for you, you have the right to either accept the valuation or reject. And you have the right to even challenge the value they have given to your cargo. And this happens on a daily basis. So my point is, why single out one company and put all the applications together and make it look as if they are the only persons within the import and export landscape that has applied for customs advance ruling and has been approved?
Well, you tell me what you suspect. Tell me what you suspect.
Well, we believe that this is a clear case of giving the dog a bad name and hanging it, because every importer in Ghana, every exporter in Ghana, by the Customs Act 2015 Act 891, has the right to apply for customs advance ruling, has the right to challenge valuations from customs. And it happens on a daily basis. You are a journalist, you can go to customs and find out the number of times they get their values, their valuation and classification challenged by importers or clearing agents.
If GRA were to be your private company, would you allow an excess of 1 million cedis and later on come back for it? The time value of money and whatever it is that's involved is way gone, right?
An excess. You see, that is we are making it look as if the company was involved in something dubious. No, it hasn't happened.
Well, that's not my claim. That's not my claim. It's part of the concerns of the OSP, and we're taking that report. Then it's basically working with the report from the OSP.
Then let us change our law, because the Customs Act 891 is what it says there. Section 12 is clear. And mind you, there is even a provision in the law that allows customs to request for documents from importers as far back as 6 years. You need, Section 9 states that you need to keep every documentation, including invoice, parking list, customs duties declaration, for close to 6 years, because at any point in time, customs can call or request that you submit all those documents to them for them to cross-check. It could be that at the time customs were valuing your cargo, the transactional value you gave them, and the price they have seen the commodity being sold on the market presents a challenge. So they can come back to you and investigate how come we value the cargo at $2, but adding your total cost, which includes payment to your suppliers, your transfers, your freight, the cargo is now being sold at $5. And we believe that $2 was too small a value to be given to you. So we are now increasing the value to, let's say, 2.5. Hence, we are calculating a shortfall or a short collection of, let's say, 200 Ghana cedis. And they will write a demand notice and explain the situations to you. As an importer, you have the right to even challenge that demand notice, because you can challenge them using their own law by telling them that, listen, I value or I sell my product on the market based on my total cost. My total cost includes duties that I have paid to you. And after paying the duties and putting my total cost together, including my profit, I'm selling it at 1 cedi. And the cargo has already been sold. How am I going to get money to pay for even the short collection you're asking for? So you can still even challenge it. But the company, being law-abiding and probably didn't want to make so much noise about it, decided to pay. Because if it was my company, I would challenge the OSP and I wouldn't pay that money.
Okay.
Because cargo that has already been cleared, sold. Mind you, before I was selling it, I considered my total cost. That included duty before I sold the cargo on the market or the goods on the market. The goods is already sold. Now you are telling me the duty I paid was less. Am I to go back to Kojo Mensah, who bought the chicken in Krediasi and has used it for their live soup? That, listen, the total cost has increased. So you to the chicken I sold to you, give me some money more. Is it fair? How can that be done?
You're a businessman, so it's fair to say, what you're telling us now, but it's also there's also the other side to it.
Take the business aspect out.
Right.
If you, sitting down, you decide to import a vehicle, let me give you a classical example. One Toyota Accord, Toyota Corolla. Customs say the duty element is 200 Ghana cedis. You bought the vehicle for 200 Ghana cedis. You pay customs, they are 200 Ghana. You clear your car. You go to the market, having in mind that your total cost is your purchase price and your duty, which is 400 Ghana cedi. So you decide to sell the car for 500 Ghana cedi. Your profit is 100 Ghana cedis. Customs comes back to you after 4 years and tell you that you should have paid 300 Ghana cedis for the car instead of 200 Ghana cedis. So we are now coming for the short collection or the shortfall in duty of 100 Ghana cedis. You've already sold the car to, let's say, Evans Spencer. Well, can you go back to Evans and tell Evans that, hey, the price I gave you for the car has changed because the duty that customs asked me to pay has also increased.
Okay.
So give me 100 cedis more. Can you
Dennis, this is what I'll tell you, that in law, and of course I stand to be corrected on this, there's no expiry date for crime. So what the OSP is seeking to do now is to go into the circumstances surrounding how that exemption was given to the company. And I guess the OSP has every locus to go into that. The circumstances relating to the exercise of that discretionary power. That's what the OSP is looking out for now. You are a businessman, so you're free to say, well, I can go about my business. But the concern is about the state and how we're not getting revenue.
No one is challenging the authority of the OSP to go into matters that he believes or feels has corruption or corruption-related offenses or something that has to do with corruption. But the point is, does the customs law allow for advanced customs ruling? Does it?
Anyway, I guess the argument will go back and forth. But let's talk about the way forward. Let's talk about the way forward then. I'm interested in knowing what your chamber intends to do in the coming days. Will you engage the special prosecutor, for instance, on the matter?
Yes, we are writing a paper to him to challenge the contents and some of the recommendations he has made, and also copy the customs division of the GRA, because we believe that the customs division did no wrong. Neither the LaBianca group of companies did no wrong. Everything they did were by the book, by law. And we cannot just imply or try to create an impression that what they did was out of place and was against the laws of customs or the Customs Act. We are going to take action on that.
Okay, but finally, I thought that would have been the last one. The issue about indigenous companies. Are you of the opinion that our system does not allow Ghanaian businesses to flourish?
There's a clear indication. The person did no wrong. He applied by law what Section 12 of the Customs Act says, that you can apply for advanced ruling. So I applied for advanced custom ruling. Customs, through their processes and procedure, went through the law and approved, even varied. They didn't even approve what the company was asking for. They varied it. So customs varies it, an indigenous company, I pay my duty, and then you come back for the short collection, which is not a problem, but try to denigrate and cast a certain image on my company as if I was engaged in dubious and corrupt practice. Obviously, you are shrinking the image of the company, and their customers and suppliers would now want to shy away from them. So you are gradually going to destroy someone's company.
Anyway, Dennis, great talking to you. I'm sure that in the coming days we'll get some more reactions to this. The Importers and Exporters Association are also issuing their concern on this matter. Samson Asakia Wingobit, Executive Secretary for the group, joins us via Zoom now. So we've heard from the Chamber of Freights and Trades. Do you have a different position on this matter?
Well, thank you very much, Bless, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers worldwide and the whole country. I must say that my outfit is working on a document, a statement to issue this evening. I'm sure before 4 o'clock we will have issued such a statement, and we are talking about 5 things. Nabenka is one of the area that we are raising in our press statement for today. I must say that the reportage that has hit the country is not the best. It is going to put the Ghana in the red map against our international counterparts, because Ghana, you are not trading in an island. We are not living on our own. We are trading with other countries. And if you have a company of international repute like Biaka, if for whatever crimes, economic crimes that they've committed, and you want to, just like the special prosecutor picked up a petition and working on it and have asked them to pay. And at the end of the day, even if special prosecutor hasn't gone there, there would have been what we call custom after you clear your cargo from the port. For some number of years or months, customs come back to do what we call post-auditing. And based on that, if they see that there were some infractions, they will ask the company to pay. This has been happening within Custom Management Act. It's accepted. It's within the law, the ambit. You might clear, pay a duty, but later custom realized that, look, the amount of duty that this person had paid, they were underdeclared. So if they were underdeclared, then they will ask you to pay the differences. So for me, the way the whole country have taken it, I am looking at it at the way we are tarnishing the image of the company, we are tarnishing the management and the staff, and of course, the company is distinct from the human being perspective. Don't forget that the company is a legal entity, and so which can be sued and be sued. And so the way Ghanaians, yes, this issue has cropped up. How are we going to deal with it? Because, mind you, this person has created jobs into the country, mind you, both directly and indirectly, mind you, with our total revenue that we are generating from the ports, including our domestic tax that we are generating in this country, that makes our GDP. This company is one of the companies that is paying so huge. And so if they have found themselves wanting one way or the other, I don't think this should be the way we should treat it.
And I mean, what's surprising?
It is open to every important. Let me move. Yes, it is open to every important in this country. So far as you are bringing commodities in huge quantities, you can apply. You are having a uniform price from your supplier. You can apply to custom management, and through the Commissioner General or to the Commissioner of Custom, they will channel your application, your national, including your contract agreement.
Anyway, but
pricing that you are going to get from your suppliers, then.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, I mean, I'm so surprised that as private organizations, you are meddling into the affair of another private entity. And by extension, you're preventing a statutory body from not performing their duty. That's what you're doing, right?
No. Nobody is calling. Nobody is saying that the statutory body should not. Nobody is running. Nobody is the state agency not to go into what do you call it, investigation and come out with its own report and whatever. Nobody is against about that. I don't think any of us are saying that. Why is the government? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Somebody call me. Yes, so we are not. Importer and Exporter Association of Ghana is an entity that is there to protect the interests of the business community. And so if there's a reportage in this regard, it is the onus lies on us to come out and use the opportunity to educate. That's what I was trying to tell you, that even every importer in this country are open to apply to custom anytime for special values. And per the Custom Management Act, they will look at your contractual agreement, how much you are getting, and the quantities that you'll be bringing each month. Then based on that, custom can come out. And I'm told that he was even given 10%. 10% is within the law. It's within the law.
We need to go.
However, the special prosecutor thing says that it was not out of the law. Yes,
anyway.
Go ahead. You want to say something?
Right. So we need to wrap up. I'm grateful for your time. That's Samson Asakia Wingobit. Unfortunately, we don't have much time. So let's pay attention to some other stories that we've been bringing to you here on the Pulse. Price of goods and services are also up by some 31.7% as of July this year. Now, latest figures released by the Statistical Service indicates that there was a 3.1% jump in the prices of goods and services. That rate is moving from the 29.8% recorded in June this year. The latest figure was the highest recording since December of 2003, that's 2003, surpassing the market forecast of some 30.8%. Isaac Kofi Ajay is with our research desk, joins us now with details of why we're experiencing the escalating rate of prices on the market. But Kofi, first of all, give us a sense of how bad the situation is now on the market.
Yeah, so I was saying that the current headline inflation rate of 31.7% simply means that we are about 4 times away from our current inflation target of 8 plus or minus 2. And in effect, we are currently seeing inflation as the biggest tax component on our, disposable income. This simply means that if for that matter, what you have as your disposable income has actually diminished or is actually reducing just because of inflation. So 3 times in a row, right from April, May, June, and July, that's 4, we are seeing, just like we see on your screens, imported inflation being more than the local inflation. But in terms of disaggregation, we have items like food being more than the headline inflation of 31.7%. So bread has gone up by 57.1%. We have payment of rent also gone up by 46.4%. We have cooked rice has gone up by 27.2%. Bars and church fares up by 42.3%. And smoked fish or herrings, which we usually call amane, has also gone.
Yeah, and that brings in the perspective. That brings in the perspective about food inflation.
Exactly. So we have the current food inflation rate being, more than the headline inflation of 31.7%.
So what this then means is that you'd have to pay more for food items, right?
Exactly. So it simply means that there's currently, so much pressure on consumers, disposable income, because inflation, in actual sense, act like, an invincible tax on your income. So it simply means that the higher the inflation rate, the higher what you have as disposable income diminishes. So if you could afford goods with a certain amount of money, it simply means that you would have to, get more money to afford the same amounts of good. But if you look at on the side of regional breakdown, you can see that in the South we are seeing food inflation rates being higher than the headline inflation rate. So for the first time probably in a row, we have the Western region recording inflation rates for food items being 44.8%, being higher the headline inflation, followed by the central region, 41.8%, eastern region at 39.7%, and even the greater Accra region being number 4 with 33.3%.
And what's more triggering is the inflation of some luxury products such as alcohol, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's alcohol. Non-alcohol and beverages are high, but you can also see alcohol also being high, and then also products like diesel and then petrol. But people are saying that when times are hard, people go ahead to consume certain kinds of food. Probably that's why we are seeing the price of alcohol and other things going up. So, but they all have inflation rates probably higher than the headline inflation of 31.7%.
Isaac Ofeje with our research desk there. JoyNews has been on the streets of Accra, engaging some traders on what they think about the escalating prices.
The rate of inflation, however, slowed down in July. The marginal increase over that of June reflects the increasing cost of operations for businesses, which is influenced by a rise in fuel prices. 6 divisions led by transport recorded inflation rates higher than the national average of 31.7%. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim explains.
Specifically, transport 4.9%, followed by housing, water, electricity and gas 3.8%, food and non-alcoholic beverages 3.3%.
Like almost to Tumudia, Mubaya Den.
What's that was saying when this so? Or my papa? It's a petrol nine so bad one was a driver any car back where you ma. No papa no crown and sapine. No one could see can go Sugunumu. That's how much it. Yeah, for your problem near Cotra de Betona. Obi Batra was. Yeah, Cotano so years. As a near Woodia. Yeah, what's your pan chopper? Your pan chop. Into man to Subium. Yeah. The Adrona, yes, Serrano, and we are mobile.
I guess there's about 2 months beyond the Annie and Eddie down the Ensimino. But it's Siano. There's about 2 months beyond Mentiasia. I know man, Alijabia Yatum. See, I do my way and so I'm calling him. Yes, I 2 months beyond the Miaba. Yantimin was a personal. Fascinating, I guess I told the idea. I didn't know idea. I'm not sure about I see a crack, as a chick, a boy that's one. And the manaton I besa. Sanya never see a tardian. And a Ukras can I answer, sir. Ubadi. Uba got to baton show where we let us a cigar song. And then I did turn there. As what the crime.
One so woman said to me, woman said to me, Cecilia went to me, yes, Cecilia went to Munquanto, Musa to my obey than over Sakwa Faneman. Went to Munqua. And Cecilia, no boy, a dim baby, a quastro do. No power, woman, you know, or bill how me, or boo how you are here, and you will bow how your pen, you know, your pet. No pen, you know, your pet. And to me, as Cecilia, we as no obedient to me, or be unto me, who I did. They say near my boarding, and I'm over to near. And then I see a yard at home near what prono. Because it's simple, you only have one. Maybe I'm over Sakan, your bed and all made. She knew why I be to prono near Bebo. Only if I could show me no between and walk to scan one for no use can now call baby. Say, send them quiet as a first. Now, quite smooth enough, yeah, and yet.
Well, the Ghana Union of Traders is also reacting to this. Joining us now is the president of the group, Dr. Joseph Obeng. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So here we are. The inflation is going up again, 31.7%. You say that your businesses are being affected. Briefly explain to us why.
Down further. It is not good for businesses. All the indicators are bad. Interest rate is bad. And I'm praying that this thing is not going to trigger any increase in the monetary policy rate, as they have always used as the reason for increasing. Now, our consumers, we are thinking about consumer. Much as the inflation has made their purchasing powers gone down, we are also finding it difficult to even reduce goods for them. We still have to even increase the goods when their purchasing power is down because of the factors of exchange rate and then the increase in the interest rate and other factors. So where are we going? We have to find a solution to this. Otherwise, businesses will crash and collapse.
You issued a statement on Sunday calling and drawing the attention of government to this. Are you set to engage the Trades Ministry on this?
Yeah, I've told you we have already sent most of the input as was spelled out in our press release to the Finance Ministry through the input in the budget, and then also through our setup ministry. Some of these concerns we articulate to them verbally, and so we came to make this press release, and we are waiting that will be called, or as we suggested that. All stakeholders be convened and that we all help government to find some solution to this problem.
You're asking that a committee be set up to look into issues relating to the depreciation of the cedi. Are you still standing by some of these calls?
What else can we do? We have reached the crossroads. The fact that we need other human resources, resourceful people to come on board, to brainstorm and help take us out, because it's for all of us. It's not only for government. So the onus lies on all of us to come together, and I believe it will serve in the interest of the government itself to bring us so that we own the problem together and we solve it together.
All right then, Dr. Joseph Obeng is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Obviously, he has some engagement, so you'd have to leave us now. But thank you so much, sir, for your time here on The Pulse. But here's what we need to tell you. President Akufo-Addo, in the coming days, will outdoor a national youth policy. Well, the document, which recently received cabinet approval, primarily aims at ensuring a comprehensive framework and direction for all stakeholders involved in the implementation of policies, programs, and projects for youth development. The National Youth Authority, the supervising agency, in a bid to further deepen stakeholder engagements on the policy, is hoping to use the maiden National Youth Conference, which will be held in Accra in the coming days on the occasion of the International Youth Day, to gather feedback on the best possible approach in achieving the aims of the document. Joining us in studio now is Pius Enam Hajde, Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority. Enam, it's good to see you in our studios.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. You've been away for some time, but it's good to have you back. So let's talk about the National Youth Policy itself. How did you arrive at finalizing that document, first of all?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and to our cherished viewers, especially the young people of this country. There are almost 12 million out of which 2,000 will be gathered at the Anakazo Bible Ministry Training Center in Ekropon and not Accra.
Okay, so it won't happen in Accra. Okay,
it will happen in Ekropon at the Anakazo Bible and Ministry Training Center for the first ever National Youth Conference. But you speak about the National Youth Policy. The last time that Ghana had a National Youth Policy was in 2010. And by 2014, they developed an implementation plan. And when His Excellency President Akufo-Addo assumed the reins of power, he instructed that we should look at the policy to review it. Policy documents are dynamic, as you know, because circumstances change. And so the framework within which development must occur has to respond to the exigencies of the time. And so there was a consultative process. There were regional-based consultative meetings. There were stakeholder consultative meetings, even at the national level, bringing youth groups on board, bringing civil society organizations, and so on. And of course, it ended up on the desk of His Excellency the President and Cabinet. And not too long ago, we received Cabinet approval for both the policy document, the National Youth Policy 2022-2032, and its accompanying implementation plan. And we are quite excited. In fact, my personal view is that the policy document and implementation plan, which we inherited, was more like the strategic plan of the National Youth Authority. But our view
so this is a revised.
This is revised
policy.
And therefore, it is more comprehensive. Like I was saying, we held the view that what we inherited looked more like the strategic plan of the National Youth Authority, and that a youth policy, in its real sense, should be cross-cutting in nature, because there are many departments, agencies, and ministries that are involved in the youth development ecosystem. For instance, if you read the youth policy, for instance, on the matter of education, the youth of Ghana have aspirations, and they have, for instance, said that they feel that there is a mismatch between curriculum and the needs of the job market and industry, and that there is a need to review curriculum so that the needs of industry can be captured. The National Youth Authority, or its mother ministry, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, is not responsible for developing curricula. It's for the Ministry of Education. So that is for education. In health, the youth have aspirations. In agriculture, we do. In trade, in industry, and in interior security, we do have. So what we have done is to galvanize and bring together the views and aspirations of the youth and align it with our developmental priorities and the vision of His Excellency the President into the policy document. And so it is much more comprehensive. So if you check the implementation plan, for instance, there are many things that the ministry, our mother ministry, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, or even us at the National Youth Authority are not responsible for, but some other ministries, departments, and agencies are responsible for that. Like I said, I give you the example with
of the education and all.
But what we do at the National Youth Authority and at the ministry is to have a tracking mechanism to ensure that across all the various spheres of national life, the aspirations and the plans that are captured in the policy are reflected in the programming of all the various ministries and departments.
But ultimately, what do you seek to achieve? For instance, some would say, let's focus on employment issues because it's part of the front burner matters that concerns the average Ghanaian youth. So do you have a set of goals that you have put into that document, and what timelines are you giving to it?
There are sets of goals, and the timeline is 10 years between 2022 to 2032. And we are clear that on every thematic area, there are a clear set of goals and a certain set of actions that will have to be undertaken. But if you check unemployment, for instance, standing at some 19-point-something%, a little too high in our view, and has to come down to single digits by the time that this policy will be reviewed. It should be single digits. But it again is cross-cutting in nature, because to deal with the problem of employment, we have to deal with education. If the employers are feeling that the materials that we are producing and do not match what they want, then we have to also look at that area. Again, it is also about the general economic environment which allows the private sector, which has the absorptive capacity. As far as youth unemployment or employment is concerned, the economic environment will impact on the capacity of the private sector to employ people. But generally, you see in the National Youth Policy a renewed effort on technical and vocational education and on entrepreneurial development.
Since you're talking about entrepreneurship, we heard about the You Start project with the finance ministry is promising us. What room are you making for that in this policy? For
it is very much an important part of the National Youth Policy, because, like I said, the view is to grow the can-do spirit of the Ghanaian young person who is intelligent, who is committed, who is willing to run a small business and manage it properly, but who admittedly also has major barriers, for instance, the limitation to capital and funding. And that is why the You Start is being brought on board to deal with that problem of the limitation to funding. About 10 billion cedis is going to be injected into the economy over the next 3 years with a view to create 1 million jobs. And that is why, Blessed, we are quite saddened that some other people appear to be excited that the e-levy is not performing too well, because the e-levy is one of the key enablers of the You Start initiative. But we believe that they can do spirit. You see the young people doing sobolo, you see them doing bakery, you see them doing the Ghanaian is creative at heart. We are by nature very, very entrepreneurial. What we have is the structural limitations of collateral. You have to bring a collateral to be able to get capital and all that. You Start sticks to circumvent that challenge so that young people between the ages of 35 and 15 can be assisted to run those critical aspects of the economy, medium, micro, and small-scale industries. They have the capacity of growth, and we are hoping that the vision of His Excellency the President, which is to turn young job seekers who carry CVs in their armpits into young job owners and job givers themselves. And that's why we are quite excited about the Youth Start.
And that question has faced you almost all the time, and I'm sure that I'll be adding to that number. How many jobs have you created as the NYA, and by extension, this government?
Well, like I said, the NYA is the melting pot. Right. And so we can report to you on the figures, not necessarily jobs that are created by us, because there are several and varied interventions that are creating jobs. Right. The YEA is creating jobs. The NAPCO created about some 100,000 jobs in times past. The NALEP, under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, is creating a lot of jobs as far as the reclamation of land and so on is concerned. What we are seeking to do at the National Youth Authority is to have a bird's eye view and be the melting pot, facilitate all of the interventions that inure to the total and holistic development of the Ghanaian youth. Right. So even in the private sector, Blessed, you have a job, you are a young man. Right. And so in counting the number of young persons who have been employed within a certain time frame, people like you ought to be counted as well.
In the numbers?
We are not only looking at the public space. Right. So let me be candid with you and say to you that beyond the large numbers in the public space, the National Youth Authority is now in the exercise of aggregating all of the figures, and that in due course, both across both the private and the public sector, the total number of persons, that young persons, that the economy has been able to absorb by way of jobs will be proved.
I'm asking the question because there are fears that we may be adding on to the unemployment figures. The fact that, for instance, government policy on the Nation Builders Call, NAPCO, that they will be ending by September. Government is urging them to take advantage of the Youth Starts project. So if nothing is done immediately to capture some of these things in that policy that will be outlawed by the president, we may have another crisis by the end of September.
Well, I can assure you that there are the intentions and there are the plans to deal with the problem of youth unemployment. You are right that NAPCO is being transitioned so that the beneficiaries now take advantage of the Youth Start, because they have gathered enough experiences learning at the feet of others to begin to own their own businesses. And that's why I sit on the steering committee of the Youth Start. And I can report to you that plans are far advanced to launch the Youth Start, and that 10 billion over the next 3 years to create 10 billion Ghana cedis into the economy over the next 3 years to create 1 million jobs will bring down the rate of youth unemployment from about 19% to on the precipice of about 10%. So we are quite clear that we want to move down unemployment into the single digits.
But the point is, how many of these NAPCO personnel are equipped, are trained enough to take advantage of the Youth Start project? Because I'm sure with the Youth Start, you must have some enterprise going on for yourself. So they may not have any
well,
job at hand,
they do. I can assure you. I just had the opportunity to bring in some new recruits into my organization. Many of them are beneficiaries of the NAPCO. And Blessed, I can assure you that they are quite prepared. They have gathered enormous and enough experience to manage on their own. However, as a part of the Youth Start arrangements, there's a mandatory training. Before you benefit, you have to undergo training, especially in the areas of soft skills and like bookkeeping, like customer relations, and even precision mentality. Look, Blessed, how many times have you not gone to your Ghanaian tailor? And when he measures you, he doesn't want to write it down. Only for you to come back to notice that the dress is either too small or too big. Right. Precision mentality is critical in the current day business environment. And so the Youth Start, by its arrangement, by its structure, you have to undergo mandatory training to equip you. In fact, when we are even talking about machinery, we are not under Youth Start merely going to give beneficiaries money to procure machinery. Okay, the machinery will be procured, and then there is at the top of it a mentorship and supervising and tracking mechanism to ensure that every beneficiary of the YouStart is mentored and directed in good business practices and so on. So I can assure you that beyond the training that NAPCO has given, YouStart itself has inbuilt within the mechanism training of the beneficiaries.
We need to wrap up, but about a week ago when you held a press conference on this subject matter, you pointed out that the agenda on which you're embarking to create jobs will be non-partisan.
Correct.
Are you involving all the stakeholders, I mean from all the political parties, because they are crucial in this process?
Absolutely. As we speak, many youth organizers of other political parties are on their way to Anakazo as a part of the National Youth Conference.
You're involving the NDC?
Every youth organization, almost all of the youth organizations, I've had meetings with the leadership of all of the political parties ever since, youth wings of all of the political parties, ever since I assumed office as CEO of the National Youth Authority, because they are an important player in the youth ecosystem. So everything that we are doing it looking at Ghana, Mother Ghana, and the young people of Ghana, and not political parties in mind. But, Blessed, let me also use the opportunity to inform you that on Friday, the young people of Ghana, acting through their National Youth Authority, will honor and confer on His Excellency, the President of the Republic, the Star of the Youth of Ghana. You know why? We are clear that his interventions, truly and really unprecedented, but for want of time, I would have gone through a long list. The interventions of His Excellency, the President, can only be aimed at preparing the youth of Ghana for the future. And we are happy at it. We are setting a precedence that people who are given positions of responsibility must know that the young people of this country are watching them. And when they do well by us, we shall also recognize their efforts and we shall publicize it and let the world know that we are happy with their output. And Mr. President will be the first awardee of the Star of the Youth of Ghana awards. And
we'll be certainly on the lookout for that. That's the Chief Executive Officer for the National Youth Authority, Pius Enam Hajde. You're still with us here on the Pulse on the JoyNews channel. When we return, we'll talk about illegal mining in parts of the Western region. Please stay. You're welcome back to the Pulse. Now, the Elembele district of the Western region has mostly been in the news for the wrong reasons when it comes to activities of illegal mining, popularly known as galamsey. Recently, there have been confrontations between some residents of the area and Adamos, a mining company, over disagreements over a parcel of land that galamseyers had went into to mine. Over the past few days, there have also been allegations against the district chief executive of the area over his alleged involvement in illegal mining activities. So why these allegations and what's the DC doing about the issue of illegal mining in Elembele? Joining us now is Kwesi Bonzo. He's my guest today. He's the District Chief Executive Officer for the area. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
You're doing well.
Right. By the grace of God.
Yeah, indeed. But first of all, I need to point out that even before you came into studios, we're also reading reports of a magistrate in the district raising concerns about some activities of illegal mining going on around her residence, or his residence, I should say. What's the true story surrounding that?
I think that issue is a little unfortunate. It's been dealt with extensively over the last couple of weeks since the news broke out. It's true the magistrate wrote to us that she had relocated out of her bungalow and she cited galamsey.
Oh, so she officially wrote to your office, I guess?
She didn't do it herself, but she got the regional administrative officer of the judicial service to write to. The letter was written on the 14th of July. I received it on the 26th of July. It was then that I called her. Then she confirmed to me that the letter was written at her behest. But the issue has been dealt with recently by the Minerals Commission that did an investigation into the allegations. And the report exonerated myself and the assembly, and rather applauded us for the good work that we have done in fighting galamsey.
What immediate steps did you take in resolving that matter, for instance?
Okay, so it's true, there was some galamsey activity in the area way back in 2021, last year.
Right.
It started somewhere around February 2021. So it came to our attention March 2021. immediately what we did was we convened a dissect meeting. And, you know, the issue of Galamsey is a very complex socio-economic phenomenon, and now it's even politicized. And you know, this country, once everything is politicized, it becomes difficult to even deal with it. Right. So we needed to bring all the stakeholders together. So in that particular meeting, which was held on the 5th of March 2021, we invited officials from the Judicial Service because we realized that activity was affecting the residents of the magistrate, as has been stated. And in that particular residence, she shares with the divisional police commander. So we invited officers from her outfit, from the EPA, and the chiefs in the area. Nana Salma, Telekubukazu in Crawford Anya, the Galamsey prone areas, so that we could all sit together round table and find a solution. And at that meeting, the chief of Telekubukazu did something that shocked everybody at the meeting. He owned up that those guys doing the Galamsey were doing it on his instruction.
Oh, really?
But then he didn't ask them to do Galamsey. Adamus Resources Limited has a trust fund, community trust fund for Telekubukazu. Okay. So a certain amount of money, I think almost 800,000 Ghana cedi, had been devoted to construct a bridge to connect the old site to the new sites. Now, in the process of construction of the bridge, the chief then asked some native of the community to do the certain, to dredge the river. The area. Yeah. And in the process, the person took advantage to do Galamsey. So the chief owned up and then asked that we should give them 1 month, end of the month, to try and clear the mess and then also halt the activity.
So what assurances are you giving to the magistrate now?
Oh, that issue has been solved. Right. So that's what I'm coming
So you've halted?
It's been halted since
the activity.
March. So right after the meeting, right after the dissect meeting, 2 weeks later, around 20th March, we got information that the guys had gone back to site and were doing Galamsey. So on 21st March, which was a Sunday, we called another dissect meeting. This time to map up a strategy to effectively to do an arrest. Right. So Monday, 22nd March, we arrested the guys, 3 people at the site, took them to court. And then once again in court, the chief came again to testify for them. They were not doing that.
But in this whole narrative, and I'm sure that you've also heard this yourself, that your name has come up as one of the persons involved in illegal mining within the area. You are DCE, so some say you're using your office as a cover-up. Is that true?
I think that's very unfortunate, because if there's any DCE who has fought against illegal mining in the Western region, it should be Bonzoke. It's my record in the fight against Galamsey is well documented and self-evident. Look, there are minutes of dissect meetings, over 20 of them that has been heard. Some of them we have invited a member of parliament, we invited the chiefs, we invited major stakeholders.
I see that you're with some documents here.
Several
Maybe you'll be breaking them down for us.
And then, in fact, today marks the 3rd anniversary of the first Galamsey operation that we did in the Elemele district. It was on the 10th of August 2019. When together with EPA, the BNI, DISEC, we launched our first anti-Galamsey operation. And the area head of the EPA nearly lost his forefinger in that operation. Wow. And since then, we've done over 16 Galamsey operations, 16, within a period of 3 years.
What results are these operations yielding? And I guess maybe it's part of the reasons why persons say you've not effected enough arrests, and maybe that's why the activities are continuing within your district.
If we are assessing our performance in terms of the fight against Galamsey, I would say we have had a success story, because currently there's no ongoing Galamsey activity in our district.
There's no Galamsey in Elemele?
Not at all.
What if we find out one?
There's no ongoing Galamsey. You see, the thing about Galamsey, you cannot, as a law, as a government agency, you can't prevent them from going to site. You can only be reactive, because it's a crime and it involves economy, it's money. So those who are going there, they'll plan. What you do is that once you realize they have gone to site, you map up a strategy to halt their operation. So the current issue of the magistrate, we arrested them, processed them to court, and then the court obviously referred the matter to ADR. So since March 2021, there was no Galamsey activity until June, last 2 months. Then the guys claiming that they have a court order to do reclamation went back. In the process, we realized we were going to do Galamsey. So we actually, in that instance, I wrote a letter I wrote to the divisional commander.
Okay, so this is the letter you're pointing to.
Yes. So on the 7th of,
I guess, right,
of June, I wrote to the divisional police commander, asking him to undertake an arrest immediately. They received the letter. In this letter, you will have realized that I copied the district magistrate. Right. So that's his received copy.
Yes,
is what we are holding.
yeah, right.
So if I am involved in Galamsey, would I be writing letters to the police, copying the magistrate, copying the chiefs, copying? But you see, I'm a parliamentary candidate. I've been a 3-time parliamentary candidate. So my political opponents sometimes find it.
You feel politics is feeding into
Sure. They know. You go to the community, they will tell you that the DC Bonzo is not involved in Galamsey. This for no reason that the most recent investigative report issued by the Minerals Commission, which is the regulatory agency of the industry, exonerated me that rather I should be applauded for the role. But then again, what I would say is that Galamsey, fighting Galamsey, needs a collective, concerted effort. We shouldn't be blaming each other politically for whatever reasons, because it permits political
actors to take advantage of what's happening.
Exactly.
But there's also the aspect of jobs for the boys. And I guess it's part of the reason why they keep going to the concessions. If there are no jobs in the district, obviously you find them seeking for jobs on the Galamsey sites.
I'm sure in Tokumemle, where Joy FM is situated, there are unemployed people here. Does that give them the opportunity to come into Joy FM and decide to do their own thing? No? That is why government has introduced this community mining policy. And it's all about creating jobs for the youth. Of course, in the mining areas, my experience as a DC in Elembele for the past 5 years is that the large mining companies has a lot of concessions in those areas. Right. Like, for instance, in Elembele. You just mentioned Adamus.
Right.
Adamus owns a lot of the concessions. Now, the youth, the company cannot employ everybody. Currently, Adamus has about 1,134 employees, about 57% of them being natives. But even that is around 600. Right. We are talking about a district that has a population of over 100,000 population. So obviously there will be unemployed youth. Right. Now, but that doesn't warrant that the unemployed youth should just go into the concessions that are not theirs to illegally undertake any activity.
Yeah, but as DC, you appreciate that there is the issue of unemployment. So what steps are you putting in place to deal with that?
So since I took office, we've been engaging with the large-scale mining company Adamus. And quite recently, Adamus has committed itself to releasing about 150 acres of its concession for community mining purposes. What we are doing now is to go through the processes of getting it. And the whole idea of community mining is just a small-scale mining defined in another way, but this time with the community ownership and then with the oversight responsibility by the district assembly. So in as much as there is youth employment, we need to go to the processes to make sure that the youth will not just wake up and then get into any site, because the adverse effect of Galamsey on our environment, on our water bodies, on even, it comes along with a lot of social vices, drug abuse, teenage pregnancy. These are all issues that are related to Galamsey. So when you are handling Galamsey, we need to be very careful and make sure that in the long run, the community mining policy becomes a blessing and not a case.
You were just talking earlier about the involvement of local authorities, the chiefs. What's your relations like with them? Because it's also a key factor in putting a stop to illegal mining within the district.
The chief, I would say, play 60-70% role in this fight. Right. Because mostly, Galamseyers are not even from the area. In most of the arrests that we have done, the financiers are businessmen who invest in the industry.
Oh, so they are from outside the community.
So they come to the community and then they approach landowners who happen to be the chiefs. So the chiefs then gives the land out to them, like the Telkobukazi issue that we spoke about. Right. So realizing that the chiefs have a role to play, in all our engagement, we've had several meetings, several one-on-one engagement with them as DISEC. This is, in my capacity as DC, I sit.
You're also the chairperson of the District Security Council.
So we have engaged them extensively. The most recent one was when we brought the chief of Sangma, Teluku Bukazo, Anya, Nkrofo, all of them together to discuss modalities on how we could implement well-structured community mining operation in our district. Currently, there are some concessions that has been earmarked for community mining. So we are working with the ministry.
And since you're talking about the District Security Council, I do recall about last month or some months ago, you were involved. There were some security breaches in the area, which resulted in the arrest of some youthful persons within the district. The IGP himself was involved in that operation. Yes. I recall that you're part of those who led a delegation to engage the IGP, so he could do something about the situation in your district. What's the update on that instability, the situation we witnessed within Elembele about a month or two ago?
Well, I think you were in that room.
Precisely.
In the meeting where the IGP was very clear to us that what happened on that very fateful 1st April day is something that no police organization will countenance. So the arrests were made, the people have been put before court, and as it is, I led the delegation of the chiefs to come and then plead on behalf of, first to apologize to the IGP, because that very violence that happened, that police was attacked, my office was attacked.
Oh, you were attacked in the process as well?
Yes. So that's when people say that I'm involved in Galamsey.
Yeah, you're really surprised at that.
I'm surprised.
So your officers and everyone was attacked?
We were attacked, yes. Right from the court is about 50 meters away from this assembly. So on that fateful day when the Galamseyers stormed the court to try and then to rescue their colleagues from the court, and then it led to the unfortunate incidents of the shooting and the death of that young man and the Donko. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Right from the court, I was the first target.
You were attacked?
I was in my office. They came with colors of machetes, chanting war songs, looking for the DC to harm me. Because to them, I've been a thorn in their flesh. Look, if you have a DC who has embarked on about 15 to 16 Galamsey operations within a period of 3 years, sometimes I've had to appear in court to testify against Galamseyers in court, in open court. I'll definitely become a target. Right. It is for this reason that when I've also become a target of the other side accusing me, I think it's not something that anybody will. But fortunately, like I said earlier on, the Minerals Commission had an extensive investigation. They spoke to all the relevant bodies involved in the police, the citizens, the individuals. But interestingly, if you go to the community Elembele now, devoid of politics, and you ask anybody in the community, they will tell you that, oh no, as for DC, he's rather one fighting Galamsey. He's not. And I've used every single platform that I've had.
Just to clear
to speak against Galamsey. To let everybody know that the effect on Galamsey, it's all of us, we are at risk. So we shouldn't think that, okay, for political expediency, we can tag the DC, who is a parliamentary candidate, just because he's a parliamentary candidate.
You're being tagged for.
Yes.
We need to go. So what will be your message to, the general public, and particularly for those who find themselves within your district?
My message to the general public is that as we all know, the effect of Galamsey on our environment is just the negative impact. It's serious. Look at what is going on on the screen. You see it. Our water bodies are being polluted. Our land is being degraded. There are chemicals. There are health hazards. But in the local community, it must interest you to note, anytime I've arrested a Galamseyer, I've never had a peace of mind. You have all manner of people calling you, putting pressure on you to release the Galamseyer. You have chiefs, you have pastors, you have elders, you have imams, you have almost everybody calling you, because you know what? It's a local economy. It's a money issue. Because in the local economy,
people will get money out of it.
So even when it goes against our interests, against our health, against our environment, people are ready to indulge in it. So I'll call on each and every one of us to collectively, and I also call on the judiciary, because in all these fights, the only remedy available to me as a DC is to effect the arrest of Galamseyers. Once I do that, my job comes to an end. We then hand them over to the police for them to be processed to court. So, like I said in the beginning, it should be a collective, concerted effort for us to nip galamsey in the bud. But currently, as we speak, we have stopped galamsey, and there's no galamsey activity in Elembele.
And that's the district chief executive of the area assuring you about that, Kwesi Bonzo there. And we do know that the manufacturing sector of the country could actually collapse unless government takes a number of remedial measures to address the concerns of the Association of Ghana Industries. Now, key amongst them is the depreciation of the Ghanaian cedi against the major trading currencies. In fact, the AGI is warning its members may resort to imports instead of manufacturing if the situation persists. The effect of this will be layoffs and reduction in tax revenue for government. President of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Humphrey Dake, who disclosed this at the Graphic Business Breakfast Forum, says the members of the association are reeling under severe economic challenges.
Said note, it therefore leads us back to what the opening remarks of the MD of Graphic, Atu and Kwamina, espoused in their presentation. The structure of our economy goes way back to the pre-colonial era, and that has been the challenge, government upon government, desirous of transforming the sex structure to create structures that will lead to the sustainability of the mining sector, which is the extractive industry. Because as captured, we are still aware most of the raw materials coming from the extractive industries are exported in its raw state. And once you do that as a primary product in the efficiency model of developing an economy, the factor stage gives you a lot of raw materials and cheap labor. And if you are not able to enhance that factor stage to an investment stage, which is the manufacturing stage, that will give you further structures to add value to the raw stage and gives you higher income in that particular sector, that becomes the value addition that industrialists and proponents of various economic models said that we need to move from the factor stage to the manufacturing stage, where precision and manufacturing becomes the hallmark. The value addition stage then guarantees you the relevant, sustainable income to aid you meet the theme as to whether we can live within our means and attain a successful economy. So the structure of the economy over the period, and this can be found in our various textbooks, and the various earlier speakers have already mentioned it, I don't seek to belabor the point, has been weak because we are still very focused in the primary export of our product. In between the period pre-colonial to date, we used to export gold, timber, and cocoa. Today it's moved from gold, cocoa, and oil, and it's still in the raw state. About 60% of this that are exported are still in the raw state. And as long as you do that in the raw state, you cannot be sustainable in terms of revenue streams that will meet your various needs and wants of your country. So the limited resources as a result of still existing in the pre-colonial structure becomes a hindrance, and therefore it becomes challenging to meet the theme whether we can live within our means.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Pulse on the JoyNews channel. Now, Ghana's education curricula is often criticized for lacking sufficient ingredients necessary for building students for their career. Well, Next Level Education, a book authored by Dr. Mamia Bosio Norman, is seeking to provide some practical answers to the defects in our education sector. For those of you who do not know much more about the book, you're about to discover more because Dr. Norman Hessel is in studio with us. It's good to see you here on the Pulse.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and I like the feel of the book and the design of it. Next Level Education, Game Changer. And you go back to share, first of all, your accounts in Chimoto School somewhere in 2018. Tell us about that experience.
I was selected by my year group, the class of '93, to be their guest speaker for 25 years after leaving school, as a guest speaker for the Speech and Prize Giving Day. So that's how I got to go on stage and talk about the theme for that speech day. And I remember that before the presentation, I asked for a PowerPoint, projector or slides, and they said most people don't ask for those things when they're coming to give a speech. Yeah. And I said I have enough information about the students that I think I need to share it, and everyone needs to hear from the students what they're thinking, their frustrations about the education, and just a lot of things. So it was all captured in there. I got a standing ovation. The faculty and staff, you could tell they were kind of nervous, but still excited. The parents were excited, and just the students were just, they were the heroes. They were like, yeah. Our voices
and what's more intriguing is that you go ahead to talk about an encounter with one of the students who says, well, I don't really know my career path. And you blame that on our education curricula. Why so?
Because I think the takeaway was the students had all these, I want to say, preconditions that if you don't make it with your first choice, and you still want to come to Achimota, but you got Achimota through your second or third choice, that means you come in really as a failure because you didn't hit your first choice. And I said you're not a failure, because at the end of the day, maybe it might take you a different path to get to your output, but it doesn't mean that you come in with a third choice makes you a failure. So
and in fact, I mean, I'm yet to read the entire book, but at a glance, I see that you're providing some answers to some of the defects that we have within the system. Where do we start from?
So just to give you a little insight, if you look at the cover of the book, I asked some students at the Ukurapaman High School, said, tell me what you see on the cover of the book. And they said, oh, we see different symbols. And I said, tell me, just pay attention
exactly
to it.
what you see.
So let's see, So if you look at the cover of the book, yes, we do have symbols right here, but we also have two faces right here. We have a girl right here, and we have a boy right here. These are the students that currently are hidden behind the scenes because their voices are not heard. The voices of the students are going to be heard through the book.
I'm now paying attention to that, honestly.
They're going to be heard. They're behind the scenes now, they're silent, but we're going to make sure that everyone hears them. What the students are saying is, one, I don't know how to apply what I'm learning. Two, I am frustrated because my school has all these traditions. I lose my focus. And three, the teachers don't listen to us enough. I get it. The teachers have the authority and they know the scope of what they're doing, but the students also have some ideas and concepts
that they could bring to
the table. We need to listen to them. And they made their voices clear in this book. And I made sure that verbatim, their statements
and whatever they told you,
it's captured.
But beyond this as well, you're talking about NVTI.
Yes.
Technical and vocational training. How crucial is that to our educational curriculum?
It is the success of every flourishing country. Right now, if you decide to go to a TVET, it's because you didn't make it through the mainstream, which is wrong. I taught at a technical and vocational school in the US, and the caliber of students in that school were amazing. I can tell you for a fact that every class I taught, there was one student that when I got to writing the exams, he usually got a perfect score, so I didn't have to write my solutions. I use his as my format, and I'll tweak it a little bit because sometimes the students might have different ways to get the solutions. But these are students who of high caliber, going to the technical and vocational schools, not because it's an afterthought, because they know that they are looking out for a particular skill set. The technical and vocational schools has to be that point where when they finish high school or even middle school, they can say, I want to go to a technical school, and that's why, because that's the choice I've made. Not because, oh my goodness, I didn't make it through the mainstream, and now let's see what else is out there.
You are able to spot the difference because at least you have that experience of teaching elsewhere in a more developed society. So that challenge and whatever it is that you spot, you've put into the book. But some are saying in terms of practicality, you may have, some criticisms coming up against you because our systems are not the same. What would you say to such a person?
I would say, okay, one practical aspect of curriculum reformation is when you're teaching the students, bring real life experts to the class. That is a low-hanging fruit. You're an expert here. If you have students who, are interested in journalism, you can go in there as a guest speaker in class and talk to them about what you do, a day in the life of yourself. That is not difficult. So, I will push back and say some of the things I'm suggesting are not that difficult. They're literally things that we do every day, but we miss. In the US, there are times when they would have firefighters go into the classrooms and talk to the students. Why? Because somebody in there might want to be a firefighter when they grow up.
Okay then, back to the basics. How do we get this?
This book, we're launching. It was actually launched in virtually in January 2021. And when it was launched, it shot up to #1 on Amazon. And 2 months later, it was recognized as one of the best new education books to read. That was in 2021.
Amazing.
In 2022, it was also recognized again. So 2 years in a row. There's a reason for that. Where can you get it? There are 4 locations in Ghana. We have Book Nook, Booktique, EPP, and Vida bookstores. Those stores have the book.
And for those who want to just get in touch with you for mentorship or whatever reason.
Actually, I have my website, I have my Facebook, following Instagram and Twitter. I do mentor a lot of students. Right. And I think the reason why I mentor them is, one, because I want to let them know that I hear them, I see them, and we have an opportunity to change the narrative of how we educate our future leaders.
And that's what Next Level Education, the Game
Absolutely.
Changer, is seeking to do. You need to get a copy of this. You're still with us here on The Pulse. We'll return shortly and bring you more stories of what's happening elsewhere. Please stay. And you're welcome back. Let's take you elsewhere. Germany is discussing this week how to better help citizens who are in trouble because of high inflation and rising energy prices. Some of the policies are already in place, like the well-known €9 ticket, the highly reduced nationwide transport ticket, and this month. And there's a lot of debate about what next could come. So let's get more on this. First of all, Thomas Sparrow has joined us to give us a breakdown of this. First of all, Thomas, help us with this. How is Germany preparing to help its citizens in need?
There have already been certain measures put in place, including the very well received €9 ticket, reduced ticket that people can use to travel around the country. But those measures end at the end of August. So there's a lot of discussion now in the country as to what could come next. The government is planning a so-called relief package, but unlike previous measures which favoured or which benefited the entire population, new proposals are focused mostly on those that have been mostly affected by the current crisis. Not only the increase in energy costs, but also rising inflation. So basically focused on those that are poorest here in society. That also has to do with concerns here in Germany that the gap between rich and poor could be widening, that there could even be potentially social unrest if people cannot ultimately pay their bills. So a very, very difficult discussion here in the country. There's still no concrete decision as to what comes after these measures that end in August. For now, it's simply discussions. The government, as I stressed, is planning this so-called relief package.
And there's this constant inquiry as to how popular some of these measures are.
It depends on the measure. So, for example, a reduction in the tax fuel that was also part of those 3-month measures was highly criticized by people who believed it mostly benefited gas companies or petrol companies instead of ultimately consumers. On the other hand, the €9 transport ticket was bought in the first month by over 21 million people, not only Germans, but also tourists who visit the country during the summer months. And it has been described as very popular and very effective. effective. There are discussions as to whether it had an impact, for example, on Germany's climate goals, or whether it affected in any way trains that were overcrowded or routes that had to be stopped. But in general, it was seen as something popular and effective. The question whether it will continue is a big one, because some in Germany's government believe that it is not necessarily the best way forward to give those kinds of reductions, sort of basically a freebie mentality as it's being described, and that other measures should be implemented instead.
So tell us about this. So how concerned are citizens about their economic situation there?
They are obviously concerned about their economic situation, especially in the medium to long term. So recent polls have revealed that Germans believe that now their current situation from an economic point of view, from the household point of view, is still good. But they are concerned about what might happen in a few months or even in a year's time. A majority, for example, stress that they are certainly concerned about the possibility of their economic situation being worse in a year's time. And that also has to do with this increase in prices, with something that Germans see on a day-to-day basis, with inflation that is also particularly high in this country. And that's why they're obviously waiting for the measures that will be implemented. There's a discussion as to whether the measures should benefit all, like the €9 ticket or the fuel tax, or whether they should only benefit those who are mostly affected by the current situation. And those issues reflect simply the concerns that many in this country have.
Thomas Sparrow's partners, DW, I'm grateful for your time. Let's come back into the country. Road users of the Solawa highway are worried about the delay in fixing the highway. Portions of the stretch have been bituminous in terms of the surface, replete with pots and some manholes as well, causing accidents and damaging parts of the vehicles. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports that though government secured some $150 million to fund the project, there's still a lot more to be done.
Majority Leader in Parliament, Osei Chairman Sobonsu, at a Thanksgiving service for Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumanakis for Gabin, made an emphatic statement about government's plan to rehabilitate this road.
Government has agreed and indeed secured a facility of $250 million United States dollars to construct the road from, in fact, to better put in shape the road from Sogah up to Wa. It's $250 million. And I believe that in the next couple of months, you will see that the Minister for Roads and Highways will be here to do the commissioning of the project. The first part that has been secured is $150 million.
It's been exactly 60 months since the Majority Leader of Parliament, Osei Chairman Sobonsu, made the announcement on government's plan to fix the over 200 kilometers Solawa highway. Since then, there have not been an inch of blade of improvement on the road. The cruel reality, however, is that the road has further deteriorated, with a bituminous surface paving way for pot and manholes. One could at least count a dozen in a 20-meter stretch. What's more, some portions of the road that developed pot and manholes were screeded off for easy passage of vehicles. However, the pot and manholes have now resurfaced, so work done is equal to zero. Residents living closer to the road and commuters now bear the brunt of the dust, bumpy and deplorable road.
A little over 2 years ago, they came and scraped certain portions of the road, as you can see. We thought that as soon as they did the scraping, they were going to come to fix it and to put bitumen. Unfortunately, more than 1 year, getting to 2 years down the line, we are not seeing anything, and it's just affecting us. A journey that normally would take 30 minutes takes you 1.5 hours to complete. It's so frustrating. And for us, those using very small cars, it just, you keep changing your parts every now and then. You hit your car, sometimes you have to go to the sprayers. It's so terrible.
From Kumasi to Wa, we are supposed to do half a day. But now for the past 3 days, I have been on this road. What is worrying us are the potholes. If you don't take time, you will hit a pothole and land in the bush.
Motorists and commercial tricycle operators are not also spared either. The deplorable nature of the road has led to several of them, in an attempt to avoid a collision with an incoming vehicle, fell off in the bush.
Most of us, the time that you program yourself to go for programs, you end up getting there very late. Also, vehicles have been knocking down people because of the way the road is. Everybody is trying to dodge and go to the good side. And all the drivers and the pedestrians are always competing for where the good side is. And at the end, they all get involved in accidents.
The Bola Solawa Highway is part of the National Highway 12, or N12, who starts at the country's border with Ivory Coast in the western region and ends at Hamili in the Upper West region. Though the Bola Solawa Highway is located in the Savannah region, it is mostly used by travelers from the Upper West region and other West African countries, especially Burkina Faso. Passengers who ply the highway oftentimes are subjected to attacks from marauding armed robbers, leading to many dead and others maimed for life. They appeal to the government to fix the road to ease their frustrations and sufferings.
And sometimes armed robbers also take advantage of the situation, especially when you get to a place that you cannot speed. They will, because they know that you cannot speed, they will just get you there and rob you of your personal belongings.
Okay, so what appeal do you have for government now?
What I want to tell central government is that we are begging them. This is a tourism hub for, I think, the Savannah region and also very close to the Upper West region. We want to appeal to them to try to fix our roads for us, to try to fix the roads for us.
My appeal to the government and majority leader is that at least they should faster to work on this road. It is actually an eyesore, and people are suffering here. And over 1 year now, they made a promise and nothing is happening on this road. I'm appealing to the government to expedite action so that this road can be fixed and pedestrians and passengers will pass without any accidents.
Until that happens, they will continue to inhale the dust that envelop their communities and drive on the bumpy, deplorable road in pain and at a snail's pace.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Kolmaha.
And from the north, let's take you to the Volta region. The Mepet traditional area has allocated parcels of land in Dadome at the overbank of the Volta River in the Northern districts for the establishment of a TVET institute. This was announced by the Manklalo of the Mepet traditional area, Tobi Kosi Nego, the sit at the Grand Deba of the Sister Sit Apenoto festival held on the 6th of August 2022. The festival was characterized by rich display of tradition and culture by residents and well attended. There's more in the following report.
Of Mepe traditional area, Togbi Kosi Nego, the six noted that TVET is very important, especially with the large number of graduates seeking non-existent jobs in the country. He noted that the skills acquired by the youth and technical and vocational training can prepare them for lifelong self-employment and reduce pressure on the central government in the area of job provision.
The theme for this year's celebration is TVET education, our future, development in peace, our heritage. One of the cardinal pillars of His Excellency Nanado's government is technical, vocational education and training, TVET. With a large number of tertiary graduates seeking non-existent jobs, TVET is a key rescue path for the nation. The chairman of Mepe Development Association, MDA, has captured vividly in the preface of the Apenoto brochure the unique importance of technical, vocational education and training to the youth in our current economic condition. I therefore don't want to belabor that point. Suffice to say However, that the skills acquired by our youth in technical vocational training can prepare them for lifelong.
Toby Kosi noted that the Mepe Traditional Council, in collaboration with the Mepe Development Association, will follow the request on the establishment of the TVET Training Institute with an official letter to the Ministry of Education through the Director General of TVET. Togbi also noted with worry the absence of bypass routes in the Mepe town, which results in the blockade of the only road passing through the town by both human and vehicular traffic during occasions like the Apenoto Festival. The Volta Regional Minister Dr. Archibald Yao Leta in his speech noted that the Apenoto Festival signifies the importance the indigenes have been attaching to it over the years, as well as their desire to use the platform to promote the socio-economic development of the area.
Apenoto Festival. I am grateful for the invitation extended to me and wish to acknowledge that the celebration of the 66th Apenoto Festival signifies the importance you have been attaching to this festival over the years, as well as your desire to use this platform to promote the socio-economic development of this area. This is an admirable feat, and I congratulate you for your fortitude. Aiko. Mr. Chairman, it is irrefutable to state that the celebration of festivals has gone beyond feasting and performance of traditional rituals to assume greater socio-economic and cultural dimensions. It is tourism that festivals have taken a center stage in the Ghanaian socio-economic and cultural life, creating the awareness for the mobilization of human materials and financial resources.
Let's take you to some other story. Well, she abandoned the child on her husband after he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And for 2 years, the single father has been battling poverty and stigma while taking care of his son. My colleague Emmanuel Jivenu traveled to their home at Mafi Adidome in the Central Town District of the Volta region and now reports.
4 years ago, the cry of a newborn baby brought Martin and his wife immense joy. They could not contain the joy of being first-time parents. But that excitement ebbed away a year on. Their bundle of joy could not function properly.
He can't stand on his own, sit or catch up, not talking. The neck falls and goes back like that, unless you have to support him. He was diagnosed of cerebral palsy. Yeah, so as he's growing after 2 years, he is not responding. Though he understands when he talk, I feel like performing the action, but realize all the muscles, everything, they are weak. He can't stand on his own, sit down, do anything. Even the talking wasn't coming. So I took him back to the hospital for a proper checkup. So that is where he was diagnosed that no, it's a cerebral palsy.
Despite having little knowledge of cerebral palsy, Martin was troubled by the news and worried about how to care for his son. He recounts how everything took a downward turn and eventually his wife abandoned him and the child. His wife's family claimed he had jinxed his own son.
The family of the mother were giving the pressure to her that what a baby she has given birth to and the baby can't respond to anything like that. So he should find a way of leaving the child. So they claimed myself and my family bewitched the boy. That is why the boy is like that. So they've given her pressure, a lot of pressure. So she have to leave the child and go. That is 2 years. So after that I have to take over because myself I don't have a family. My mom is not alive, who is who can take care of him for me. So I took up the responsibility myself as a mother, at the same time as a father. So I do everything a woman does to take care of the baby. That is what I do. In the section of only not breastfeeding, that is but whatever a woman does to take care of the baby, I do all these things myself. And at the same time, playing the role of a father. When I wake up, the normal duties, household duties that I have to perform. When you also wake up, then I have to take him out, bath him. After bathing, I massage a bit, then I feed him. So after feeding, I have to come out with him or be inside the room, we watch TV small, I play with him a bit before I can come back to the kitchen or maybe wash his clothes, and then I take a rest a bit.
According to Martin, his son, whom he named Martins Jr., was not born with cerebral palsy, but that the symptoms were detected soon after his first birthday. Martins Jr. is 4 years old now. He has a slack neck and stiff muscles, which make movement difficult. He can barely do anything for himself. Martin, worried about his son's condition, sought remedies from several health facilities and even tried herbalists, but all to no avail.
Hello.
Taking care of children with cerebral palsy can be overwhelming. It is virtually a 24-hour job. Martins Jr. needs a lot of attention at home. He also needs to visit the hospital for medical checkup, as well as physiotherapy. Martin says, as a single father, although he feels blessed to have a child, the boy has also put a heavy burden on him.
It's really tough getting the money to buy, taking care of him, the medicines alone. Talk less of buying diaper and this food. Yes, it's really a help for me. Back then I have some small money.
And be sure to have more of the story at myjoyonline.com and also all of our Joy News social media handles. I'm Blessed Sogah. This has been The Pulse. We'll see you same time tomorrow.